Welcome to part 2 of our E450 series. Last week in our intro, we talked about why we chose this particular coach. Now we're actually going to get it on the road. And as I mentioned in last week's video, I still have yet to actually drive this thing other than just a few feet from affordable RV down the road into our shop. So I did what we do not recommend you do, but what a lot of you do, and that's basically buy it based on the floor plan. So we took a look inside and thought, you know, this looks like it could work. And I am confident, just based on the way it's set up, I've got a pretty good idea of how it's going to drive. It's all stock except for helper airbags in the back. So I've driven a few E450s over the years, but I'm also going to bring along my Uncle John for this test drive. He's got well over 40 years of experience in the shop, has driven I don't know how many E450s over the years. So he and I are going to take turns driving this coach on our RPA route, our Road Performance Assessment route. So in our full ultimate RPA, we take your coach on a 16-mile test route over a variety of conditions. So highway, back roads, we'll do a lane change, we'll test for harshness. And then when we get back in the shop, we'll do next week a 50-point inspection on the chassis. We'll weigh it on all four corners and just see what's going on with it from the chassis standpoint. But first, let's get this thing on the road. All right, well, here we are. We're taking our 2016 Forester on its maiden RPA voyage. So we're simulating our road performance assessment process. My Uncle John's here with me, gonna ride along, and he's driven quite a few more of these than I have. Not that I haven't driven a lot, but
mileage is 32,781.
32,781, yeah. What's that?
Okay.
Once this guy gets out of our way, then we can actually start driving. Yeah. All right.
Keep jumping out in front of you.
All right. So, we'll turn on the Henderson lane here. We'll let go of the wheel. Check our returnability. Returnability is actually not horrible, but see, I kind of noticed this when I was driving it back from affordable. Again, that's all that I've driven this thing is like however many 100 feet that is. Well, it really seemed like it favored the left.
Looks like it's returning, yeah, when you turn to the right, but not to the left.
Yeah, so it goes back to about 90 degrees off center and it kind of stays there. Let's see what it does when I round the wheel to the right here. Let go of it, and it comes right back on center and keeps going left.
Probably
so
gonna have a little pull, huh?
I think we're pulling left, yeah. So one issue. Returnability, I mean, it's actually not that bad. The main problem is it's just not returning evenly.
Yeah.
So I give it maybe a 6 for returnability. 6. Yeah, which is not actually not bad for one of these in stock form.
So I'll make a note here that it wants to go left.
Yeah, it really likes the left. It's only got 32,000 miles. You kind of wonder, like, the mileage on this thing, is it that low because they just didn't want, you know, they didn't need to drive it that far, or because they didn't enjoy driving it at all?
Yeah.
I don't know. 10-year-old coach, 3,000 miles a year.
Really know much history on this, do we?
No, we got it from Affordable RV, which they did they were great to work with. So appreciate them. They're just our neighbor down the road. So normally I would not recommend somebody buy a coach without, or buy anything without test driving it.
Yeah.
But we're
doing what most people do.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we're just replicating the average RVer's experience.
Yeah. And then most people, if they do drive them, it's around the block with nothing in them. That's totally empty.
Yeah, which we'll check our loading in next week's video. We're going to do the second part of the road performance assessment process, which is actually weighing it on all four corners, doing a thorough inspection, of all the steering and suspension components, and then recommending upgrades, but probably could have gone there. And yeah, my own loading I'm sure is going to change because I just bought this thing. I do think it has a full tank of water. Fuel, we're at maybe a third of a tank.
Okay.
So it is a little on the light side. And definitely the four-corner way will be interesting too, to see how the weight distribution is, if that could be affecting the pull at all.
So fuel, you said about a quarter of a tank?
Just over a quarter. Yeah, you call it a quarter.
Okay.
Fresh water is full. Holding tank is empty. At least I sure hope it is. Just bought the thing. No, they confirmed that. All that's good.
And they did their inspection, or their PDI, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, they did the walkthrough with me, which that actually took quite a bit longer than I was expecting to. They were very thorough. It was probably about close to a 3-hour process. I think he showed me everything and told me all the issues of I think it's Paul, is his name. Showed all the, like, if something got a problem with your water heater, your fridge, and all that. Was very, very thorough on all that, so that was good. My only other RV, well,
Hopefully that wasn't the camera fall off.
I guess we'll find out. Yeah.
So it definitely looks like it favors the left, and the steering wheel's a rather crooked, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't holding it, I'd be into the other lane.
Okay.
That's a pretty strong pull. That's not great.
Can you tell if we have any play in the steering?
Kind of hard to say with just fighting that pull.
Yeah.
I mean,
Slight, maybe?
slight. Yeah, it's
I know it's hard
feels-
when you're holding on to a pull there.
yeah, it kind of feels like your typical E450 steering. It doesn't feel
We give it a
anything.
5 maybe, or
5 on pull or play.
play.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, these things are always kind of sloppy. All that linkage, the way it rocks around.
Yeah.
We'll show that when we're actually inspecting it, rocking the wheel and everything.
And this had the hand cook tires on it, if I remember
Yeah.
right. Do you remember how
Yep.
old they were? A couple of years old?
I think they were right at 5 years old.
Or 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know where our tires are set. We'll check that before we inspect it, which will, or at least we'll check what our recommended pressures are after we weigh it, and then once the tires are cold, we'll adjust them. Typically, if you're doing an RPA, you would do that the next morning, actually adjust the tire pressure when they're cold. For all kinds of things
Yeah.
clunking down there. I hope
Looks
it's
like
not.
you got a little bit of shake in the wheel off us, doesn't it?
Kind of does, yeah. As it's coming back on center,
Yeah.
when I hit the brakes,
Yeah,
let's
that-
see.
Little shake on the brakes too.
Yeah, it pulls more. I don't really feel it in the pedal, so I don't know that. I don't think it's
maybe we can get up a little faster. We'll see what that is.
yeah. Definitely feels a little wallowy.
Yeah.
Now this really the only thing it has suspension wise is those airlift.
Right.
Airbags.
That's right. You'll have to note it out.
Right, and I think they're running about 60 if I remember right. We've got that it's a little remote gauge thing.
And there's no valve up here or anything where you can adjust that from inside, right?
Now, well, you've got a remote control. I don't think it actually reaches up here though, because it's like a wireless thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I definitely feel a little bit of vibration there.
How fast are you going?
About 52 there.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of maybe in the front tire.
Yeah. Not really feeling it in the seat too bad, but it's definitely there. Yeah. Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see where the alignment is on this thing. That V10 revs up pretty good. Seems to run okay. I mean, feels about normal.
Do they give you an oil pressure gauge on this at all, or?
Yeah. Right in the middle of the range there.
Normal?
Yeah. Isn't it Ford that does it where they give you a gauge, but actually it's just you have pressure or not?
Yeah. Go or no go?
Go or no go, yeah. I definitely feel it there now. I'm doing a little over 60 now. Feel that tire.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Coming up through the seat.
Yep. I almost hear something too, like a
little bit of a whine.
Feel that? I was on or off the gas.
Yeah, might have a little driveline angle this year or something.
Maybe. Until the lane change is going to be interesting.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely got some wallow to it. It's interesting. Yeah, it's almost like a dull kind of. I don't know how to describe it. That's kind of odd.
Probably want to change the rear oil.
Do a service on it.
Service.
Yeah. Yeah, the oil. I think they did do the engine oil. That seemed pretty fresh.
No maintenance records.
Gosh, now. Nope, don't know too much about it. I do know that they did some work on the roof. I think that was the main repair stuff they had to do. Alright, I'll get over into the other lane here. Let these people pass. Wait till we get a little more open to do a lane change.
Had a pretty rattly stove or something back there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a little noisy. I just stay in front of this guy. We'll go over to the left in 3, 2, 1. I didn't push it too badly there. It's hard with all the traffic. We'll go down Helms and we may have to do another little bit to get a better lane change. I might be able to do that on the highway.
Scale if you want.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, we'll go a little further. Wouldn't say the ride is especially harsh so far. I mean, just kind of your typical E450. This is a longer wheelbase one, so it's probably going to ride a little better than the shorter ones.
Airbags you said had about 60 there.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably helping to sway a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. A little bit of bounce there.
These airbags are out over the top of the spring outboard.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to help more versus if they were inboard.
Probably.
See how it feels for sway around the corners up here. Definitely feel, even just over that little bit, your typical twin I-beam bump steer.
The springs are a little bit reversed arc on these.
Yeah.
Even with 60 pounds, they'd really be bent over backwards without air.
Right. I know, 60 pounds, you figure how empty this thing is?
Yeah.
It's like, if you had a full load, you'd have to run those things up pretty high to really... Okay, that was a little harsh.
Yeah, pretty harsh.
We haven't really hit any real rough patches in the pavement yet. We'll do that more on the Helms and Jerome Prairie. Yeah. So we're showing here how, at least in Oregon, you've got truck scales where you can drive across them.
We've got the
weigh station,
the remote reader.
Right, so we'll be able to see. So I'll just kind of show here. All right, so here's our show pulling on there. Wait until it stabilizes. So we are 4,700 in the front. Pretty light. If that changes at all.
Just pulling halfway on the scale.
4,700. Yep. Yeah. So we just got the front axle on. think this scale is long enough to get the whole thing on.
I don't think so. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we'll get the front off. We'll let it zero out. 8850.
8850. Okay.
That's actually a pretty darn good weight ratio.
Well, the longer wheelbase is probably
Longer wheelbase
helping on
helps,
that.
yeah. Yeah, normally on these things, you'll see that front axle number be, maybe like a third. If you got the front axle be a third of the weight of the rear, you're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about a 50% ratio.
Yeah.
So
of course, you have a huge compartment in the back, so
that's going to
if you put
change.
anything-
And that's a good point, that all of the front compartments are tiny compared to
they
that. So
put the back bumper back there.
Yep. I'll probably have about 1,000 pounds of weight in that back compartment, so that'll change things a little bit. All right, see how she runs. Yeah, it's fine.
0 to 60 in
A while.
15 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost wants to hold this curve, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, just for steady state sway, that's really not that bad, though. I mean, it'll change when I get a little more weight in it.
Right.
But
Try working the wheel just back and forth.
yeah, like this.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
there
you
you feel it. Yep, that's more where more replicating of a lane change. Now let's do that a little bit more and see if we can feel that tail wag, because we haven't really gotten a chance to really feel that yet. So
Yeah.
yep, there you go.
Definitely pretty
You can-
squirmy.
Yeah, you can feel that rear end just kind of playing catch up a little bit to the front.
Yeah. So tail weight, what do you want to put for that?
How, I don't know. What do you think, 3 or 4?
Be nice. We'll go with 4.
All right. Yeah,
And
I mean,
then
I felt
sway,
worse, but
probably 5 on the sway.
Yeah.
maybe.
and all of this, or a lot of it at least, is probably going to get worse as it gets more load in it.
Right.
We could have waited to load it more, but I'm not ready to get all my stuff loaded in this thing yet. My wife, I don't think, would be happy with me if I said we got to get loaded up now for our trip in 2 months. So we'll just deal with it. A little bit of
Porpoising.
yeah. Feel that?
Yeah. Some of these roads have.
Yeah, I know there's a little bit in that downhill.
They do.
All right, we're coming up.
Wander.
Well, when you're fighting that play, it's kind of hard to say.
Yeah.
Brakes
You're holding
pretty good.
tension on it.
Yeah. If it wasn't pulling left so hard, I'm sure it would have more of a tendency to wander. All right, we'll run it through here about 45.
Runs pretty good.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay, there's some sway. I'd give it maybe a 6 for sway.
6 for sway.
Yeah. I think if we got more load in it, it would probably drop down more to like a 5 or a 4.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because I think those airbags are helping it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, with the load in for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing we'll want to look at is what the max GVW rating is too.
Yeah. Okay, there's where, we can really feel as that wheel just wants to jump around as you're hitting the dips in the pavement.
You get like some bumps here.
Yep, that twin I-beam, some bounce
Yeah,
there.
the arc of the axle is different than the arc of the tie rod, so a lot of times you get some bumps here.
Yeah.
We don't really have a spot to bump steer on here, but I can write that.
I thought we did. Huh. Okay, I could have sworn we
Returnability,
did.
harsh ride, wander, sway, porpoising. No, we don't have bumps.
Okay, well, gonna add that in. Let's watch the wheel. Of course, it's hard that darn left-hand drift, but you can kind of see the wheel wanting to
Yeah, definitely
work
moving.
its way.
Definitely moving around there. That's pretty typical on these.
Yeah,
Like good shocks are important too to keep it from moving so far.
yeah,
Safety plus helps out too, doesn't it?
yep. Yeah, safety plus, I mean, having a real positive center point plus damping. These come with a factory damper, but it's not very strong and they don't do anything to center your steering.
Right. A good alignment will help it too, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going to start. So future episodes, alignment, I think, unless we find something in our inspection, alignment's probably the first thing we're going to do. And in part because there's a lot of people that say, you know, all you got to do is run the caster up, like, what do they say, like 6 degrees or so?
Well, we do that anyway, you know.
Yeah.
We run the caster. A lot of times you can't always get 6 degrees. You might be 4.5, 5 maxed out with the
Right,
the ball joint cams and stuff.
right. But yeah, before we do other upgrades, that's the plan, is just align it and see, is that going to take care of everything? Is that all it needs? It's going to transform it into a brand new vehicle. I mean, maybe. We'll see.
The magic bullet.
Magic bullet, yeah. You want to take a turn driving it?
Yeah, what?
I'll stop in the little spot up here. You take it back.
Set up for the circle track, that's for sure.
Yep, definitely.
Let me try this little side road.
Yeah. I like letting you drive down this part.
It's got some pretty good look-de-doos.
Yeah, it does.
Well, it didn't fix the rattle.
No. I'll worry about that later. Might be that lid on the stove.
Yeah, the steering is definitely moving around.
Yeah, your typical bump steer. Okay. It's in abrupt stop. Yeah, you do feel just kind of a constant judder.
Yeah.
I was so busy driving I didn't notice it as much.
As far as we know, other than the airbags, it's all pretty well
It's all stock. Yeah, stock shocks. This is a good little test here.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh.
That's pretty bad. Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what more could be improved on that.
Yeah, you can feel a little bit of porpoising there.
Yep. I think the longer wheelbase is really helping it out, though.
Yeah.
If this were shorter, it'd be a lot more of a handful.
Yeah.
I think this is about as big as they come on the E450 chassis, right? 32 foot.
That's getting close.
Yeah.
Oh, we had a lot of trucking.
Oh, wow. Okay, won't be much of a test here. Yeah, I still feel like this in stock form is probably not as scary as like an F53 in stock form, or at least not like an older F53 with the smaller sway bars.
Yeah.
Especially. I can see why a lot of people would start with one of these.
Just the fact you're sitting closer to the ground too.
Yeah.
You're not moving as much.
Yeah. And your wheels are in front of you too. I think sitting like on the Class A, sitting in front of that front axle
Right.
does kind of make your steering feel a little weird.
Yeah.
A little more of like an overcorrection kind of tendency. Plus, like you said, sitting up so high, it just takes more time for all of that mass and height to kind of catch up to what your wheels are doing.
It's like sitting on top of a flagpole. The higher up you are, the more you're moving around.
Right.
Well, it didn't break down.
No.
All right, we made it back from our test drive. Now, I don't have John here with me. He had to get back into the office, back to work. He works really hard keeping our Supersteer outside sales division running smoothly. And a lot of times if you call Supersteer, he's the one who's going to answer the phone. So big shout out to John and everything that he does to keep Supersteer rolling. So let's recap what we found in our test drive. So here's our RPA form that John and I were filling out as we were driving it. And just going down the line here, we ranked it in these different areas of how the coach drives. So for steering play, first of all, we ranked that a 5 out of 10. Pretty average for these. That front steering linkage on the twin I-beam tends to just have kind of a sloppy feeling. Because this had such a significant left-hand drift, I actually had to kind of fight that drift, and probably didn't feel the play as much as I otherwise would have if I weren't just constantly correcting for it. Returnability, coming from a right-hand turn, steering return to center, great. From a left-hand turn, not so much. The wheel would come back to about 90 degrees off center. We ranked returnability a 6. Steering wheel position, we noted there that it is off to the left. Pull, we ranked a 3 out of 10. It was pulling pretty bad and to the left, which is not the way that you want to be going, especially into oncoming traffic. Not ideal. Harsh ride. So initially I thought, oh, it's not too bad, but after we got over some rougher roads, it did feel pretty harsh. Now I do want to note a few things on that topic. One is this coach is not fully loaded. So once we get some weight in it, that probably is going to improve a little bit. Generally, getting some load will help with your ride harshness. Not always. I mean, if we didn't have the airbags in the back, potentially it could really sag that coach out in the back and actually worsen the ride if your springs are already running super reverse arched. But just keep that in mind. Also, with this being a longer wheelbase coach, that does help us out in several areas. For weight distribution, steering feel, also for ride harshness, this being a longer E450, you don't feel quite as much from that rear axle as you would if it were a shorter one. So that is working in our favor. And still, it was pretty harsh. Wander, we ranked that a 5. Again, because of that pull, it's kind of hard to say exactly, if I were able just to hold the wheel straight ahead, how much would it feel like it's going in different directions. Sway, ranked a 6. When you're just rounding a corner, just kind of steady state curve, it's not too bad. It's more just the sudden immediate inputs like swerving, sudden lane change, that kind of thing, where you really feel the body roll. Porpoising, we ranked that a 5. Same for bounce. So porpoising, that's where nose is going down, tail is going up, the coach is going like this. Bounce is more like the whole thing is kind of doing that. Just all around, you could kind of feel a little bit of that happening as you're driving the coach, and a lot of that really is the shocks. Porpoising probably would be worse if this were a shorter wheelbase coach. Vibration, we did feel a pretty good vibration coming from one of those front tires. You could feel it a little bit in the wheel, see it a little bit in the wheel. So we're going to look at tire balance, tire roundness in the front, see if that could be affecting it. Also want to note that potentially the tires themselves could also be causing that left-hand drift. So before we align it, I think we're actually going to try swapping those tires from side to side, but we'll do that in a future episode after we do the inspection. Ride height, we ranked it a 5 out of 10. The springs are reverse arched on this, the way they pretty much always are on an E450. This coach is not quite as bad, though, with the airbags are helping it out, picking it up a little bit compared to where it normally would be. If this didn't have the airbags, it would be significantly worse. Brakes felt good. No pulsation, no vibration. They felt good and strong. Tail wag, we ranked that out of 4 out of 10. Same with lane change. So when we swerved, you could really feel the tail of that coach kind of doing its own thing, kind of playing catch up. And that is something that we can definitely improve upon with our rear track bar once we get to that point. Acceleration power, we ranked that a 7 out of 10. It's just the stock V10. It runs fine. Didn't really seem to have any issues there, so no problems. A little bit of drivetrain noise, so we did note a 5 out of 10 on the noise. Kind of when we were on the gas versus off, you got a little bit of noise there. So that may be something to look at in a future episode. Then we did drive it across the scales at the weigh station just to get an individual front and rear axle weight. We are going to next week do a 4-corner weigh, but you can see just right off the bat we're 4,700 pounds on the front axle, 8,850 on the rear. That's actually very good for an E450. With this being such a long coach, I think that's helping us out. But we're going to weigh it again, all 4 corners next week, and actually get it into the shop to do a real thorough inspection and see what all is going on the suspension. So again, encourage you to like and subscribe to stay tuned on these on this series. And until next time, I want to wish you safer and happier driving.